but we don't talk anymore.
Hello there, Internet, and welcome to a game called Lawbreakers. Now, for the past for the longest time, I've been actually following this game, and I've been very excited about it. Why? Because I just wanted to really get my hands on it. It looks awesome. And with the open beta currently underway, and me having now spent over 100 minutes on the game, pretty much, I can safely assume that this is going to keep me entertained for quite some time. Hopefully I get to either pre-order it or buy it later, because I downright love this game. I especially like the fact that it's not a $30 game, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So let's compare this to Overwatch, and, well, why it's a thing. Well, Overwatch and Lawbreakers are kind of similar in the broad strokes, similar to Paladins in Overwatch. However, Lawbreakers and Overwatch are very, very, very different in both playstyle as well as many other aspects, in both gameplay and art direction, and a few other minor things as well. Now, while the control schemes for both games and most of the other abilities and stuff are technically there is a ton of things that you need to know about Lawbreakers and Overwatch, and the differences between Overwatch and Lawbreakers. Now, Overwatch and Lawbreakers do have similar types of gameplay. They have certain ground type gameplay, and they have a bunch of, well, different heroes with different abilities and stuff like that. The true problem with that is that the formula for each game is very different. Whereas in Overwatch, it's mainly a ground-based game with very few people actually having the ability to fly, and a lot of some of the guns in the game actually acting quite differently than any of the guns in this game, pretty much. Now, one thing to note about Lawbreakers is that it's one of those games that I find that's very fairly balanced. Similar to how Rainbow Six Siege is balanced, in that each operator has a specific role, and each operator does that specific role and counters other operators in a hardcore sense. However, there are many different ways around each of these operators and how they function. In the broad strokes, there are certain counters to certain characters. Now, there's no actually 100% hard counters to the character, as in this game it's actually mostly skill based, which is a nice, interesting little touch. One of the things that I really liked about this game when it was first announced was the gravity aspect, in the fact that you could go around and act like you're in Doom or Quake or stuff like that. I've mainly been sticking to two roles but I'm going to talk about all of them, and bear in mind I have very limited knowledge of some of the other ones except for those two roles, and I have minimal knowledge of the third one. So let's get into it. And I have minimal knowledge of two of them, and I have almost no knowledge of some of the other ones. Again, you can find a more detailed type of gameplay analysis from someone other than me, because this is just my own personal thoughts on the game. So what do I think of it? Well, I think that it's a breath of fresh air in certain aspects. Whereas Overwatch has been starting for me to get a little bit stale and, not as good, because I've been playing on PC more often. I do have to find that a lot of the stuff for this game is very, very fast-paced. When I first got onto it, in one of my first games, I was getting dominated completely because I had almost no idea what I was doing. But in my very next game, I was able to pick a role that my team needed, and we were essentially able to dominate the entire team back, which again is a very good thing. And mainly it relied on mostly the skills that I used and how I played in the positioning of the game. Again, this is a very skill-based game. And the more that you play a character and the more that you know your role, the easier the character will be to play later down the line, which I find very interesting and very cool. So, what are the characters that I mainly played? Well, there's two of them. One is the Assassin. The Assassin was one of the classes that I adored watching to play. Why? Because she has a freaking grappling hook. Basically, I compare her similarly to Genji from Overwatch in certain aspects. Number one, she can dash. She has a dash ability that she can use to dash forward. It doesn't really cause any damage, but it is a good movement ability when you're in the low gravity zone. She has her ultimate being her doing double damage with her swords. She also has a shotgun backup, as well as another ability that's basically kind of like Tracer's Pulse Bomb, but it doesn't work in a similar way. It just knocks people back and knocking people off the map, which is a good way to get some environmental kills, which is nice. The one thing that I truly, truly, honestly loved about this character, which made me like her a lot and want to play her more, was the fact that she had a grappling hook. This grappling hook is super useful in a lot of situations, just for mainly getting around the map or just having fun. Seriously, in the low gravity zone, if you have your grappling hook, you're able to have more maneuverability than most of the other classes can have, other than the rockets in certain situations. And even in those situations, the rockets can only travel in like a few different directions, and you have very minimal control over it, kind of like a charge from Overwatch, whereas in this one, you have more or less a similar thing, which I find amazing that this character exists. She's mainly melee focused, but she also has a shotgun for taking people out at a little bit of a bigger distance, which again is very good. The second character that I played a lot was the support character, which again, I'm very happy that they kind of added this medic character, because this is the type of character that I like to play in most first-person shooters that offer like these kind of class-based things. I'm the guy who'd probably be picking medic in TF2 because, again, medic is a very kind of easier thing to play, whereas in this one, it's actually a bit harder to play, which I find very interesting. The way the medic plays is that he has a grenade launcher as well as a hover ability, a secondary, and you can basically just make a list of all the stuff. His primary weapon, as I said before, is a grenade launcher. Now this has two forms of fire, which again are just basically either bouncer grenades or impact grenades, which again is very good. One of the other things that I liked about this character was you didn't have to get direct hits on certain characters in order to score like kills, whereas with most of the other characters you have to kill them with a fairly straightforward shot. With this one, you have a little bit of an AoE, similar to how certain other characters have rockets that can propel them and stuff like that. And yeah, it's pretty much that he's just the support character. He has two drones that you can send out to people to heal them, and he can also heal himself with the drones, which I find very good because that makes the sustainability of this character extremely, extremely good. And I freaking love it. Finally, the last two characters that I kind of played a little bit is the Gunslinger that I played for a tiny bit of time, as well as what I'm going to call the Soldier 76 Assault character, because I can't think of the name. I'm very sorry. But I definitely think that these two characters, in their right hands, could easily dominate people. The Gunslinger character basically has two weapons. His primary fire is just a standard kind of pistol that shoots rapid fire, and has a kind of long reload, which is very interesting. It's more of I think a plasma gun, something like that. His secondary fire, however, is something that I'm going to call his super future revolver. His super future revolver. Don't know the specific name of it, but his super future revolver is actually really fun to use and is very, very powerful. Only housing 6 shots, but again, sometimes 6 shots is all you really need. Again, this character is mainly focused on those kind of hit scan and easy kind of twitchy targeting weapons. It's very fun to play him, especially if you can get those crucial kills for your team. The last one, of course, is just the standard assault rifle. But the thing that I like about him is that he doesn't really have many other movement abilities, nor does he have many of the other things. But each character, I'm pretty sure, has a fire behind them mechanic. This mechanic is very interesting in the sheer fact that you can fire behind yourself in a low gravity zone to propel yourself forward, which again following actual real science is very interesting and pretty fun. Because, again, in those kinds of situations where you would have minimal to low gravity, anything that you propel in that direction will more or less stay within that direction until either hitting a wall or bouncing off of something else or just going out of the zone and then falling down, which again I find very, very cool. So, and finally, to close this out, I think one of the thoughts is basically that the developers had, which I absolutely am in love with. As I stated previously in this is a big comparison to Overwatch and those types of games. Overwatch being the biggest kind of game, basically selling 10 million copies. While the creators of Lawbreakers enjoy Lawbreakers and love Lawbreakers and want their game to be successful, they don't actually want to really... While they do kind of want to compete with Overwatch, they more or less want to be the Pepsi to Overwatch's Coke. Whereas Pepsi is a very popular thing, and a lot of people love Pepsi, there are a lot of people that also like Coke. And again, with those kinds of things, it's hard to really say which one's better in some people's opinion. But in my opinion, I would have to say that Overwatch and Lawbreakers play completely and utterly differently. And it is so much fun to be swinging around as the assassin or healing people as the medic, exploding their brains out, basically getting the headshots with the gunslinger. Everything there feels so much fun. Every single moment can be easily used in some sort of epic montage. You could be swinging through, and then you could be swinging through and grabbing the objective, going back to your base and like knifing 3 people as the assassin, or you can be the support character who sees that his teammate is extremely low on health and giving him the crucial heals that he needs. In fact, one of the things that I really kind of liked about it, which is a very small thing, is that if the character you're healing has very extremely kind of low health, you can easily, and you send out your drone to go heal him, you get something called a clutch heal, which I absolutely love, because that means that you're getting more points for healing the people and doing your job as the medic, which is so much fun. It's so much fun and so very good. If this is the Pepsi if Lawbreakers is the Pepsi to Overwatch's Coke, I think that this game is going to be extremely, extremely fun. The only gripes that I really have about this game is the server connection. Now, bear in mind, this is a beta, this is an open beta, there might not be a lot of beta things, there might not be a lot of people playing the beta, and there was some connection issues when I originally downloaded the game. And there still seems to be certain problems when I do certain things to disrupt the game, but again, that's just me, and I think if they can easily kind of buff out those server issues after this beta and when the game goes live, and I really hope that they do, because when I got into an actual game, I had so much fun that it's just really hard to put into words how much fun I had with this game. And all in all, I definitely think that this thing should be praised as a very good game. Again, one of the things that's really good about this is the sheer stance that these guys are taking. This is a big budget. This is a kind of big game done by a kind of new studio. And it's very much, while it actually doesn't show much that this was made by a relatively new studio. In fact, it feels like a very big AAA title, which to me is very much an amazing type of game. For this to be developed by a kind of new studio that's probably relatively small, to have a game with this much polish, competing with games like Overwatch and Paladins and those types of games, can be better and can be better in certain aspects of those games to a near clean shine of a difference, it blows my mind. how amazing this game is. So, final thoughts. The game is fun, has a little bit of server issues, which I hope to be patched out and made better in the final release. I had so much fun with the game. I love the stance that they're taking on it, saying that while yes, they would like to be, they want to compete with Overwatch. They basically want to be the Pepsi to Overwatch. They basically Lawbreakers wants to be the Pepsi to Overwatch's Coke. While not as popular, but still pretty popular. And I think that most people agree that who has ever played it and seen gameplay of it, you need to play it. You really need to. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching, and peace off.